What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So we're gonna talk about Manny Pacquiao, and we're gonna talk about Ugas. Listen, I'm gonna just address something first. Then I'm gonna give you a quick assessment of the fight, and that's gonna be a wrap. Now, I just want to say this, okay? Nobody's perfect. Everybody has an opinion. Sometimes your opinions are right, even if it's right more than it's not right. Let me say this to get this off my chest because I see this all the time, and people always want to talk about what's wrong with boxing, but a lot of these boxing fans, okay, you guys are a problem too. Okay, we got to address this, family, because we got all these people that talk, but they don't want to be wrong, so they'll make excuses for why the fight or loss or whatever happened. They try to flip it around as to why it happened. Listen, Manny Pacquiao is 42 years old. We all knew that before he fought Ugas. Ugas is 35 years old, okay? They're both at an age where they could be considered not in their prime anymore. Both of them, okay? It's just that Manny has some years on Ugas. Let me say, for all of the people that was guaranteeing Manny Pacquiao was going to beat Ugas, he was going to knock Ugas out. Ugas is a good fighter, but Pacquiao was way too skilled. Okay, that's fine if that's how you saw it. Just understand the fact that Manny Pacquiao lost the decision, and then you start seeing the same people with comments like, oh, Ugas should be so proud that he beat a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao. And his prime Manny would have did yada yada. Okay, well, we can't turn back the hands of time. So to hear that excuse is just so like, man, like grow up. That excuse of him being in his prime, no, he's not in his prime. He knew that and we knew that. Okay? Everybody looked at what he did against Keith Thurman and said, yo, you see what he did to Keith Thurman? And Thurman is better than Ugas. Here's something you got to look at. Manny hasn't fought in 2 years. Pause. Not only did he not fight in 2 years, okay? We don't know if he has the same stuff he had that night. All right? And to go by what he did last, okay, within a 2-year stretch, Ugas is a good fighter. Okay? Let me say this, and I'm going to say this. I'm saying it again. I said this before. Before Keith Thurman and Pacquiao fought, I picked Manny Pacquiao to win. Okay? We've seen guys like Bernard Hopkins beat Kelly Pavlik, fight Jermaine Taylor when he was in his prime. We've seen him do things. He beat Winky Wright. We've seen Hopkins fight well into his 40s and was still fighting the top guys and was winning titles. When he fought Winky Wright, Emmanuel Stewart said he think both guys should retire. Now, if they listen to him, well, look at what Bernard was able to accomplish after that fight with Winky Wright, because neither one of them really looked good in that fight. But bottom line, George Foreman, Archie Moore. There's several guys that fought into their 40s and were still fighting top guys, even though whether they lost or whether they won, the point is they got in there and held their own. Manny Pacquiao is not the first guy to do it. Not taking anything from Pacquiao, giving Pacquiao all the credit he deserved. Let me just say, most of you guys are so busy trying to give Manny Pacquiao his flowers, trying to give different fighters their flowers, that you overlook the point. You got in the ring. You took this fight. You're aware of your age. You obviously felt good. You felt like you could do it. Do you need the money? Or is it, hey, I think I can really beat this guy? Either way, we've seen Sugar Ray Leonard come out of retirement, come back at 40 years old and fought Camacho, got decimated. Excuse me. So it doesn't always go the way that you want it to go. Only thing happened was two men went in the ring and fought, and one guy that was expected to win didn't win. Okay? I was picking Errol Spence to beat Manny Pacquiao if they fought, and I expressed that. I don't like doing predictions. It really doesn't. I don't get nothing out of it. I mean, it ain't like, yeah. I want to show y'all how smart I am. I'm going to use my intelligence and break down. You can break down all you want. Excuse me. The fight may not go the way you thought it was going to go, so it doesn't matter. So I'm not afraid to be wrong, and I'm not trying to make predictions. So yeah, I'm telling you, I guarantee you, I don't guarantee anything. I can't fight for you. Only thing I can do is look at what your strong points are and look at how I imagine you approaching that fight. And certain fighters can make adjustments in fights. A lot of fighters can't do it effectively. Okay, that's what I go by. But don't start making excuses now and want to shit all over Ugas because he beat your hero. Manny Pacquiao lost, Ugas won. It's as simple as that. Okay, Ugas was more accurate. Manny Pacquiao threw far more punches. That's what he's known for. But like I said, you can nullify all of that with timing. You understand what I'm saying? Patience. And making sure you popping that jab constantly. Double, triple jabs. Because what happens is, excuse me, is when a guy is outworking you, he's jumping in, he's throwing more shots. The judges can be persuaded by that. Okay? And they're scoring points that's not even landing. They're scoring these punches, but most of this shit is not landing. You're just outworking this guy, so they're giving you rounds. Ugas did what he had to do. Okay, I don't see Ugas as being better than Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. He had a fight with Sean Porter. A lot of people thought he won the fight. Okay, I don't see him being. I see him at the top, bottom of the top. Put it like that. I don't see him as the guy. Let's not forget how Ugas got the title. He didn't win it. Okay, so let's not overlook these things. So even when we look at a guy like Errol Spence and we're saying, oh, but Pacquiao's fought legends and Pacquiao did this and Pacquiao did that. Okay, who did Ugas beat for that title? See, you got. That's why I tell people, think about what you say before you say it. Don't. That's why when you speak as a fan, you say a lot of stuff that really wind up kicking you in the ass later when the outcome is different from what you thought and you made all these predictions. And that's why I always say, if you are going to be that vocal about something, then you that sure, you need to be telling us that, hey, I was in training camp with both of these guys and I saw what they both can do. Because from the outside looking in, just watching sparring footage or certain sparring footage or watching people hit mitts and bags, and y'all think that y'all can analyze a whole fight off that. I don't get that. Okay, I know what that is. You like to hear your own voice and you think that you know what you don't know. But as simple as I'm saying this, let me reiterate something that I said, okay? And this is bottom line. When Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, I called it. The reason I called it is because, in all honesty, from what I saw Manny Pacquiao, his style and looking at Thurman, I never saw Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. I never saw those guys as being better or as good as Floyd or Manny or Prime Marquez, Marco Antonio Barrera, Prince Nassim, guys like that, Kevin Kelly. I never saw them as being better than those guys or as good as those guys. I'm like, they are the best right now of this generation of welterweights. But I never saw them as being as good as those guys. And I know Marquez and those guys were lightweights and all that, but I'm saying just, because Floyd and Manny came up from the lighter weights. But I saw those guys as well as Marquez. I never, prime for prime, nah. So what you saw with Manny Pacquiao beating Thurman was Manny Pacquiao wasn't even close to what he was in his prime when he beat Thurman. Okay? And they had a 10-year difference in their age. What you saw was a fighter who was superior to another fighter in skill, punch output, controlling the distance, the pace of the fight, everything. You saw a guy who was better than another guy from a different generation. And also, Keith Thurman is not as good, okay, as people was claiming him to be. Because when you start making these claims and you start talking about greatest of all time, pound for pound stuff, and you're saying this guy can beat him because he beat this guy. But then you got to look and think. If Manny Pacquiao beat him as easy as he did, right, and he wasn't even close to his prime then, can you imagine what Manny Pacquiao would have did to Keith Thurman in his prime? So this is the things that I'm saying. And this is not taking nothing from Manny Pacquiao. What I'm saying is a lot of times fighters are overrated. And then you got fighters that are underrated. You only know what's actually going to happen when the guys get in the ring and fight. Pacquiao has nothing to hold his head down about. What Pacquiao should do, well, put it like this. He does what he wants to do. He's his own man. I'm not going to say what he should do. But if you can't beat Ugas, does it make any sense for Pacquiao to go in there and then try to fight? Now, fighters who wasn't saying much about Pacquiao now, for people to start calling him out now, it will be because, yeah, he ain't the same anymore. People gonna want to see him go out one last hurrah, and I want to be that guy to put the nail in the coffin type situation on his career. And that to me is some coward shit. Do you guys not remember? At least 2 years ago, I was saying I'm not impressed by Spence, Thurman, any of these guys, Crawford calling out Pacquiao. Pacquiao, you know, the fact that he still held the title and he was still fighting, he was still active. Okay, cool. But you guys should be trying to. You all should have that same energy to fight the guys and build your legacy with guys in your own generation. You know, because let's just be real. If Pacquiao would have won, they would have stamped him as, yo, this guy is, whew, you see what he did? They're still trying to compare him to Floyd. They're hoping he can accomplish something else that, yo, this puts him over Floyd because Floyd is fighting YouTubers. See, here's the difference. Floyd don't have to fight. Floyd says, hey, I'm going to rob the bank. That money's right. And they call me, hey, I'm coming. This doesn't go on Floyd's record. Floyd can make $30-something million fighting a YouTuber. I don't know what Manny made, and I don't care. But my point is, Floyd is retired. Floyd is not talking about coming back. Floyd is not the one sitting here comparing himself and putting himself in conversations about these other fighters. You guys are the ones that keep, oh, Floyd should come back. Why should Floyd come back? Floyd's 44 years old. Manny's 42. Why should Floyd come back? That's people who want to see Floyd lose a fight. That's all it is. They hope Father Time kicked him in the ass already, so he comes back. Yeah, just to say he finally got a loss on his record. So for all of the people that keep bringing it, he really got 2 losses, because, see, this is like the childish part of the conversation where when you're talking, I'm like, yeah, so anyway, yeah, so what you think about the Anthony Joshua? Because I don't really want to go into a bunch of nonsensical talk that means nothing. At the end of the day, when a guy's retired, Floyd is not doing shit to fuck up boxing. Floyd is just doing what Floyd is doing. I mean, if that's the case, well, Chavez and Hector Camacho Jr. is fucking up boxing, because you got a guy that's a grandfather, a great-grandfather coming back to fight a young guy. And people were actually rather tuned in to see that than to see Teofimo Lopez fight against Kambosos. And that's why that's one of the dates that his fight was supposed to be on was rescheduled. So they rather see old guys from way back come back and fight than to watch a current fighter, a current so-called star. So for Manny Pacquiao to choose to keep fighting, it's his own, that's his business. In all honesty, anybody around Manny Pacquiao who cares about him, I feel like we're telling Manny. Whether he listens or not is one thing, but I would, Manny, it's time to hang it up, man. You had a great career. You did what you did. You hung in there with this guy who's, and listen, man, at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, you got nothing else to prove. So if it's not a money situation and he can live, him and his wife and family can go out and do what they got to do, he can continue doing his work as a mayor and all that stuff, or whatever he's doing, his political stuff, cool. But why get to a point where you're coming in there and you go through a Roy Jones phase, where at one point you was one of them top dudes, and then all of a sudden now people watching you and they just shaking their head like, I can't even watch this. Like, don't be that fighter. Don't be that fighter. So my whole thing is, comparing him to Floyd, anybody else, does not change anything. That loss is not coming off his record to Floyd. Him losing to Ugas, there's no need to sit up here and keep talking about how, this guy would have destroyed Ugas and all this. That none of that means nothing. But when you say that, you're saying what I've been saying all along. I don't see these welterweights as being as good as Floyd or Pacquiao. I never did. And that's why I picked Pacquiao to win, because, like I said, not taking any credit from any of them, but when I watch Keith Thurman and these guys, I don't feel like I'm watching anything special. I just feel like, they're good fighters. But there's nothing about them that I look at like, I have never in my life, I don't really You know, sometimes we know for fun we compare, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never in my life compared Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Errol Spence, none of these guys to a Ray Leonard, to a Thomas. I've never compared them. Here's what I'm gonna say though, right? Out of all of them, Errol Spence has a certain grit that has helped him win fights against solid boxers. That's why I say he would probably have a better chance. Because Terrence Crawford is a good boxer, but I don't see him outboxing Floyd. I don't see him. I don't see him beating Floyd or Manny Pacquiao. I just don't. I just don't. If Errol Spence was to beat either one of them, he would probably more than likely be able to catch Manny Pacquiao and knock him out. If anything. I don't see him outboxing Floyd Mayweather. I don't see him knocking out Floyd Mayweather. So even when Floyd gave him props saying he was giving him work for his retirement, when he came back, was coming back out of retirement, people told, oh yeah, he was beating Floyd. Look, people, stop making movies up in your head just to try to make a fighter better than what he is. Or try to take credit from another fighter. It doesn't change anything. We've heard several different times about, we heard Aaron Pryor used to be getting that Sugar Ray in sparring. That don't mean he would have beat him in an actual fight. We've seen Oliver McCall drop Mike Tyson, right? I done talked about this before. We've heard, Sugar Ray Leonard got knocked out by his sparring partner, right, the week of the fight with Marvin Hagler. We've heard several stories about guys getting the best of, certain fighters. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean that in an actual fight, they're going to win. We don't know that. But the whole thing is, it was a competitive fight. Ugas won. I don't see Ugas as being better than any of the top heavy welterweights. Maybe stylistically, he's able to handle Sean Porter. It could just be one of those things, like how Norton just had a style that bothered Ali. You know what I'm saying? Norton couldn't beat Foreman, but Ali beat him. You know what I'm saying? Frazier was able to give Ali trouble, but he couldn't beat Foreman as well. Ali beat Foreman. So, you know what I'm saying? We can't sit here and always go by he beat him so he can definitely beat him. No, that's not true. That's just an assumption. And when you're thinking as a fan, when you think with emotions, a lot of times you're going to say dumb things. You don't even realize how dumb it is. You step back and look and you think, yeah, I was just talking off emotion. Nah, that guy, he won the fight. Like I said, if Pacquiao would have got the decision, it's all praises. All praises. Pacquiao did it again. Right, okay. He held his own. He lost. He came up short. Okay? At the same time, him losing and you shooting down Ugas, now people are going to want to see Ugas fight somebody and get destroyed because they're mad that he beat Pacquiao. People are just funny and weird. I've been reading all these comments and just looking at things people were saying and listening to things that people were saying, and it's like, you just can't make everybody happy. That's for damn sure. Now, I got another video I'm going to drop, man, and who's it? Arias, Elias, however you say it, I'll get it right. But he asked me, one of the family asked me to make a video about, do I think this generation is as good? You know what, matter of fact, let me say this. Do I think this generation is as good as the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Let me put it to you like this. I'll say that for another video. I'm going to do that video, though. And I'm going to have that drop, hopefully, today. But listen, y'all. It was a competitive fight. The better man won. No need to go into this if he was in his prime stuff. Like I said, that's not what people were saying ahead of time. People was just sure he was going to beat Ugas. I said Ugas was a good replacement. Did I not say that? I said he's a good replacement. Definitely a good replacement. I'm not big on Ugas. I think Ugas is a good fighter. I didn't know what Manny had left, but like I said, when you look at what these guys do, sometimes it's a little more difficult to make a judgment call because you just don't see enough of certain fighters. Ugas didn't even win that title. So what Ugas has left in the tank is like, yeah, I got to see this fight. I don't care about a prediction. Okay? But in all honesty, it was a competitive fight. Manny Pacquiao, when he loses, he usually, I think I win the fight. He didn't say nothing this time. He completely just, it was nothing. It was no protest. Was no need for any protests. Okay. You know, Boo Boy was telling him in the corner in the last round, finish him, man, knock him, get him out of there. He couldn't. Now, think about this. Marquez was able to catch him, time him, and knock him out some years ago. Ugas didn't. So what does that tell you? And Ugas, like I said, Ugas himself is not the same fighter that he was. If you look at when he fought like Jamal James, look back, a few years ago, you can see Ugas is not the same. Manny Pacquiao's hands was clearly slower, a lot slower. His power's not the same, and he was able to go 12 rounds. This is my point, okay? He went the distance with Trevor Berbick, and Ali was completely washed at that point. Trevor Berbick won the title. He got decimated by Mike Tyson. You understand what I'm saying? Larry Holmes, same thing. Larry Holmes, he couldn't last with Mike Tyson. You understand what I'm saying? So certain people, he took, 4 rounds, he was out of it. But he was able to go the distance with Evander Holyfield. So stylistically, some guys just are able to adjust to certain fighters and can hold their own. Holmes gave Holyfield a fight. That was an actual fight. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just like that. Like Pacquiao might be able to fight somebody else at that same weight class and win. But is it somebody that's worth fighting? I don't see it being, I don't see him right now with what I saw of him. I think he should stay far away from a guy like Errol Spence. I think he should stay away from a Terence Crawford. I just think that right now with Manny Pacquiao, the things that made him special as a fighter are decreasing considerably. Does he need to go in and take an extra ass whooping? Just for what? No, I just want to make sure. I'm leaving it all on the table. It's not necessary. You went out on your feet. You went 12 rounds with a guy who pretty much is a younger guy of this generation. And you know what? What else do you have to prove? You know what I'm saying? So stop comparing Manny to Floyd and keep talking about how Manny's fighting the guys that's here now. And like Manny's the only fighter to ever do that shit. No, stop it. Stop it. Do your homework and learn your history. You'll realize, there was other guys that was fighting competitively and was still fighting the younger guys and was competing with them and was winning against them. Okay? Let's not do that. Let's not do that. There's no need for that. And what I'm saying, you guys are talking about who's fucking up boxing, but when you do that, that's what you're doing. Because what you're doing is you're living in the past, and you don't let these fighters that are current, right? Let them fight each other. That's why I was saying, I don't see these guys as being as good as them. But they're making more effort to try to fight an older fighter, hoping I'll be the one to catch him on a night when he's not the same. Versus fighting each other and helping each other build their legacies. Because see, if you got a guy, 2 guys can have 30 fights apiece, right? Both guys can be undefeated. But one guy fought at least 10 top guys. The other guy fought 2 top guys. If they fight each other, if the guy that fought 2 top guys beat the guy that fought 10 top guys, then he's better than him. Trying to make somebody's legacy better because you want it to be is not going to change anything. At the same time, right? When you make an overall comparison and you look on people's resumes and you look at the names, sometimes something has to fade away for you to step back and look and you go, damn, this dude was better than I thought. You know what I'm saying? Or, man, this dude really wasn't as good as I thought he was. If you really break down, what you got to look at is certain guys don't fight certain guys. It don't mean that this guy can't beat this guy. We can just say they never fought. But at the same time, when you start looking at who's doing what and who did what, let's look at who we got right now at welterweight. Besides Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia has lost to the top guys. So honestly, I'm going to take him out of that picture and put him aside. But he has gotten there with these guys. So you give him respect for that, give him credit for that, but at the same time, he lost. So when you're talking about a pound for pound, you talk about greatest of all time type stuff, you voting for somebody because you're a fan of them doesn't change anything. This is what I'm saying. So don't look at Manny Pacquiao with your head down. Oh man, if he was younger. Listen, he continues to fight. That's on him. For any fighter that's past their prime and they keep going. See, this is my point. But y'all mad at Floyd Mayweather because he won't come back to boxing. He retired at 38 years old. He went out a billionaire and still making millions of dollars, still doing what he's doing, coming back fighting YouTube guys. Fought the little Japanese guy he fought, who's an actual fighter. He's a kickboxer, whatever. But bottom line, he's an actual combat fighter. So, oh, he was too small. He just fought a good dude that was 200 goddamn pounds. You understand what I'm saying? He fought guys, mostly Floyd was smaller than most of the guys he fought, to be honest with you. You know, in his career. So regardless, all these excuses. Why do you want to see somebody come back to boxing that you know was no longer in their prime, no longer the same fighter that they was? Even if he's confident that he could beat certain guys, or if he's asked that question. Sugar Ray Leonard was asked. I remember him saying, even at 62, you think you could beat anybody, even Mike Tyson. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's how fighters think. I can beat anybody. So what? Why do you want to see Floyd have to prove it, but no other fighter has to prove it? Everybody else can say it, and it's okay, it's respect. But Floyd say the same thing, then, oh, well, you need to come back to boxing. No, he doesn't need to come back to boxing. I mean, if he did, that's his choice. But he's telling you he's not. So you guys keep bringing his name up and keep putting him in the same category. You can't talk about Manny Pacquiao without bringing up Floyd. That's just the way it goes with people. And then every fight, not even just Pacquiao. If you look, every welterweight that fights, somebody brings Floyd name up. Yo, great fight. Not like Mayweather. Not like pussy-ass Mayweather. Oh, da, da, da. And I'm like, damn, y'all really don't have a fucking life, man. You can't get Floyd out your mind. This is the thing I'm saying. Now, with Manny Pacquiao retiring, that nail in the coffin of that era is done. If he retires. Okay, it's done. And now these guys can stop trying to focus on 40-year-olds or people past their prime to try to get a name, try to get a passing of the torch. Light your own torch. You go out there and you make it. That's why when I look at guys like Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis and Teofimo and all these guys, if these dudes don't get it on with each other and they sit here and wait and wait and wait and wait, and then by the time two of those guys fight, they done got 2 or 3 losses, then you know what? It's their own legacy. It's up to them to want to be great. It's up to them to say, I want to fight the best fighters and beat them. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. Okay? It's up to them. You can voice your opinion. You cannot support garbage fights where they choose to take lesser fighters and stuff like that. But I mean, other than that, I don't care about somebody else's legacy. I'm not sitting up here going to lose any sleep. You know, I saw people like, yo, Manny, I love you, man. Dude told me love him. I just look at people and I'm like, man, listen, I ain't into all that emotional shit, man. Listen, you have a boxing career, you're a fighter, you do what you do. Excuse me. He told me love him. Excuse me, y'all. I just think this shit is funny. But you know what I'm saying? You sit up here and you all this giving flowers, okay, cool, you do it your way. Understand though, like I said, if he hops back in the ring and he gets knocked out, gets badly hurt or something, you guys need to understand, it's not your fault. But when you keep wanting to see the guy go out on top and keep edging him on and edging him on, and you giving the support to the point where the guy's trying to please you and jumping back in there, understand, it's only going to hurt him. Roy Jones was that dude. And I watched Roy Jones go in there and struggle with guys. I mean, all this slapping his shoes, sticking his tongue out, bobbing his head around, and then get knocked out. Like, Roy. Okay. And it just got to the point that when I get word, yo, Roy's fighting, I just, nope, nothing to watch. Nothing to watch. Because he's at a point now, like, why? What are you trying to, you know, excuse me. Now, it's his right to keep fighting. It's my right to not watch if I don't want to. And that's exactly how it comes down, what it came down to. Because I'm watching a guy who was special, who was different from everybody, who was on a whole nother level. And I'm watching him now go in there and fight against guys that he would have destroyed at one point, right? But he's choosing to go in there with the skill set that he had at that point in time that wasn't close to being what he was. No excuses, you know? So anyway, to sum it all up, like I said, it was a competitive fight. Manny Pacquiao, no, he's not the same fighter. Ugas didn't do anything to get the belt that he had. You understand what I'm saying? He was handed the title. He didn't beat anybody for it. He was given the title. Now that he has Manny Pacquiao out the way, right? He calls out Errol Spence. Now, from what we're hearing, from what I heard, I didn't want to do another video about it, but okay, word that I got is that Errol Spence has legit tearing his retina. That is real. And I just didn't really feel like, I don't want to keep making a bunch of videos about that shit. So I'll wait until he's ready to come back and we see what happens and how things unfold and just watch what's going on. I'm aware of what's happening. I just don't want to talk about everything that I hear. So, does he fight Terrence Crawford? Does he fight somebody else that's in his era? Or does he sit back now and start cherry picking? We don't know. But he's calling out a guy right now in Errol Spence who is probably not going to be back anytime soon, more than likely. Not if he has a legit situation with his retina, it will be wise for him to be 100% when he comes back. Okay, simple. If you're going to fight the top guys out there, okay, and I say like this, if you want to fight a young up-and-coming guy right now, and you really want to make a statement with a guy that's up-and-coming right now and say, hey, man, I want to fight the best who's out there. Okay, let's just say, for example, I can't get Crawford, I can't get Keith Thurman or Sean Porter in a rematch, so I'm going to fight Jerron Ennis. I'm going to fight Conor Benn. I'm just saying, excuse me, I would rather see him do that than to go fight some dude that's like 35 and 18 or some shit, and who the hell is this guy? I never even heard of this. I don't want to see that shit. Find somebody to fight that's worthy of a crowd of people paying money to come see or order on a pay-per-view. This is what these guys need to do. Because what he might do, which is what a lot of fighters do, is they beat a legend. And then they start doing what Teofimo started doing after he beat Lomachenko. I mean, Lomachenko don't even have 20 fights, right? So, but what I'm just saying is they start living off of that. Yeah, I beat such and such. And then they start acting like I got nothing to prove. Y'all do. I don't. I just beat Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? You did that. Now keep fighting the best. But at the same time, it was a competitive fight. And I don't think Manny has a reason to have his head held down. Of course, you want to win, but it is what it is. And in all honesty, like I said, people that care for him should be telling him, Manny, hang it up, man. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.